let me start by asking you about your favorite Unovan Pokemon from Generation 5. Are they the same ones you liked 13 years ago when Black and White hit the shelves? Because I know mine aren't. If you asked me back then to name my favorite Gen 5 Pokemon, I'd probably say none right off the bat. Then I might remember that Oshawott and Zorua are Gen 5 Pokemon, and I'd probably list them. The reason it was difficult to name ones I liked was because I was probably part of the crowd who really didn't vibe with Gen 5, nor understand it that well. With the potential remakes for the Black and White games on the horizon, I want to look back at Gen 5 now that it's been 13 years later. Because Gen 5 is an interesting one. For a number of people, the Black and White games might as well have belonged in the trash, sharing space with Trubbish. It was disliked by some at the time, and I think I had been part of that crowd. But now that we've matured, or at least I have as well, public opinion about the 5th generation has also begun to evolve, eventually bringing us to where we are now, with Gen 5 now viewed as one of the absolute best games in the Pokemon series. And I have to agree, they are fantastic games, ones that I misjudged, and I view them completely different now. But I have to wonder, what made Gen 5 so disliked during its time? I hope to ponder these questions and would love to hear your thoughts as well, so please feel free to comment about your experiences, all that. I'd love to hear about them. And without further ado, let's begin. So, Generation 5 kicked off September 18th, 2010. And with all Pokemon games, there's a lot of speculation about the Pokemon being featured in these upcoming games, for any game. Who can forget the classic Oshawott silhouette guess, or the countless rumors and leaks surrounding new Gen 5 Pokemon? When Professor Juniper brought out a perky chinchilla-looking creature, I was pumped. But then I started playing the game, and honestly was having a hard time with it sometimes. Unova wasn't your usual Pokemon region, because it wasn't being set in Japan like previous games were. This was the first region inspired by a place outside Japan, like for mainline games, New York City. And I'm talking mainline games here. I know that the OR region exists, and it's based on Arizona, but that's from, more spin-off games. Awesome games, but spin-off kind of thing. Whoa, it looks horrible. We're talking main ones here. The developers saw New York as inspiration, and they made these bold games. So, although we're now used to Pokemon regions being heavily themed on places outside Japan, I think Unova really shows itself to be the first trial run, with something the Pokemon Company has now nailed down in 2023 as the years have gone by. I think one of the biggest factors driving the distaste I once had for Gen 5 was the Pokedex. Specifically, the designs of Gen 5 Pokemon. And the starters of a region is a perfect place to start. So I loved Oshawott the second I laid eyes on him, and it was an easy choice. Oshawott is still one of my top favorite starters to this day. I love using him. I was so happy he was making a comeback in Pokemon Legends Arceus as well. I really like that guy. And Oshawott is easy to read. He's an otter. And then I saw Tepig and I was like, it's cute. It's a cute pig, maybe not for me, but I understand. It's a cool pig. But then I got to Snivy, and I remember at the time, when I was younger, 13 years ago, I didn't really like Snivy. When I first laid eyes on Snivy, it was kind of confusion. I didn't really like Snivy, probably because I just didn't really get it. I had no clue what the design meant. Snivy's super pointy nose, weird yellow plant collar, huge leaf tail, tiny arms and legs, even the name threw me off. I felt like I was missing info, and it looked like the odd one out, since Oshawott was clearly an otter and Tepig was clearly a pig. But of course, Snivy's design and inspiration had a lot happening under the surface. And it's obviously based on snakes, as we know that from the rest of the evolution line, it does get into a snake form. And yeah, that's true. Snivy's based on a snake. So the designer mentioned that the idea for Snivy's design came from a picture book which mentions snakes and ones that have an appearance of vines. The specific snake might be a vine snake, tree snake, or green snake, but unlike real snakes, Snivy was designed with arms and legs to make it appear non-threatening, so as to not put off players. It gradually becomes more snake-like as it evolves. This information is reiterated in interviews with Ken Sugimori, Takao Uno, and Omura. This is from Lava Cut Content, and I'll leave a link to the website as well as the YouTube channel for you to check out for yourself, because I really think you should. The interviews are commissioned and translated and stuff, and it gives so much information and insight into there. So although I'll highlight a little bit of it, please go check it out on your own time as well. I encourage it. So when we first heard the idea that Tepig would combine the concepts of pig and fire and breathe flames out of its nose, we thought it was cute and we could make that work. So we agreed on it instantly. Then, when developing the grass starter, we were told that grass goes well with reptiles. But several lizard-based Pokemon already exist, so we thought maybe we should try a snake this time. However, we were afraid that a starter Pokemon that's a snake from the very beginning might turn some people off. So Snivy got a set of cute hands and legs, and then Snivy becomes more snake-like gradually as it evolves, so it won't seem so frightening. Although Superior actually does have a pair of small hands as well, you know. It just keeps them folded behind its back, looking regal. And so the only one left was the water type. And I didn't know that Superior had little arms as well. That's interesting. Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott are all heavily themed. You know, when Oshawott evolved into Duat, I was ecstatic because, you know, I love the dopey otter, and then it was just a bigger otter, and it made sense. But when it evolved into Samurott, I didn't quite get it. Otter evolving into bigger otter makes sense, but the team didn't want the last evolution to simply be bigger otter again. And I can respect that, though. Apparently, it was Sunshine Aquarium, though, that helped the team out. I initially didn't know Samurott was based on, you know, sea lion coded, let alone samurai coded. All I saw was like a big horn being a narwhal thing, huge mustache, it's on all fours. Not sure what's going on here. But Samurott's design is heavily based on a sea lion and an armored samurai, as we probably all know now. While it was decided that Oshawott would be based on a sea otter, the designers had issues in creating a fully evolved Oshawott. The designers had issues in creating a fully evolved form which was more interesting than just a bigger otter standing on two legs. At that point, Yusuke Omura went to an otter exhibit at the Sunshine Aquarium, but his attention was rather caught by the strength displayed by some sea lions at a nearby sea lion show, and thus, Omura decided to incorporate elements of the latter animal into the design. Samurott's heavily Japanese themed as well, and over the years I've come to really like the design. I love Samurott now, of course, more than I did, and I love Hisuian Samurott a whole lot as well. I have to thank the workers at Sunshine Aquarium, specifically those sea lion handlers, for that inspiration that eventually gave us the Samurott. In fact, one of my other favorite Gen 5 Pokemon lines is also inspired by Omura once again, just experiencing life. He caught a huge, disgusting eel, apparently, from a river, and that kind of influenced the Electros line. Tepig, once again, has heavy motifs and details in play as well, but once again, I don't want to spoil it all for you. Please check out the links for further info on all that, and go read up for yourself. I think you'll have a fun time. All in all, the Unova starters are solid, and I love them a whole lot more now, and I'm much more excited for them to come than I would have been years ago. And don't worry, Snivy as well. I love Snivy and the entire line, definitely, and I have definitely matured past that. But yeah, although I've come around on the starters, you know, there's still the whole decks and other designs to think about.